is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
And we're back with another episode of The Breakdown here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Matt Hamilton. That's Chase Daniel. And Chase, it wasn't as easy as a lot of people expected it to be, but the Chiefs hang on, get the 23-20 win over the Jets on Sunday Night Football. What were your impressions of what we saw from the Chiefs that night?
Good teams find ways to win, man. People don't quite get it. They're not going to win, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. They're not going to win every game by 40. It's not going to look like the Chicago Bears game every single time. Certain defenses match up really well with Kansas City's offense, and you saw that Sunday night. Robert Saleh had them boys playing right. I mean, it was a tough dogfight in the end. KC and Patrick Mahomes did enough to win the game. And honestly, it was a perfect storm for Zach Wilson. To me, KC's got one of the best defenses in all of National Football League, and the way Zach Wilson was playing, people thought it was probably going to be a cakewalk. He was the number 2 pick for a reason. I'm not saying he can do this every single time, but there's certain ways to go about it, and I thought Zach played really well this past game.
Yeah, he certainly did. That was the best he's looked, I think, as a pro so far, so that's encouraging for Jets fans. But from the Chiefs side of it, a little bit can say it seemed like once we talked a lot last week about the script, about how incredible Andy Reid's script is, how he's the best scripting coach in the NFL. It seemed like once they got off that script, they seemed to struggle a little bit offensively. Do you think that's more just credit to the Jets defense, or were there things that you saw that concerned you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see anything concerning. People understand, they're still trying to find their way. This is their 4th game, and when I say still trying to find their way, they're still one of the better offenses in the league. But like I said, there's certain matchup issues, matchup problems. The Jets defense, top 5, top 6 defense in the league overall. I think Robert Saleh, defensive mastermind, defensive genius, and that's what's keeping Jets in these tight games, as you've seen. But at the end of the day, on the Kansas City side of things, obviously was really impressed with their run game. I thought they've been doing a lot of good stuff with their run game lately, different personnel groupings, different running backs, 3-headed monster. I think it's great. Takes a lot of pressure off Patrick Mahomes. And I thought Mahomes just had an off game. But when you're the best player in the world has an off game and can still win on the road in a hostile environment, that is reason for hey, we're building this team. That's reason for success. I don't care what the W looks like, okay? You get a W in the win column, that's all that matters, okay? When we were on the 2012, I've said this before and I'll say it again, when I was on the 2012 Saints team, we started 0-4, okay? And we fought and clawed our way back in. There were games, those 4 games we should have won, okay? And it would have been a totally different story down the road. We would have finished 11-5. We finished 7-9. So if you can find ways to win these tight games, you're going to set yourself up for success going into playoff time. And people don't understand. There's 4 to 5 plays in an NFL game every week that causes the team to win or to lose. It's not like it's every single game. It's those 4 to 5 plays. The Chiefs have shown it over and over and over again. They make just enough plays in those right opportune times to get W's.
Yeah, and it seemed like every time they needed it from Mahomes, it was really we saw a lot with his legs in that game down the stretch, taking off and picking up some key 3rd down conversions. But I'm glad you mentioned the run game, 204 yards on the day, 5.8 yards a carry. As I just mentioned, some of that was Mahomes, but we really saw Isaiah Pacheco get going, and I do feel like sometimes Kansas City forgets that with that offensive line and with that stable of backs they have, that they can do this to teams. And again, you don't want to ever take the ball out of Mahomes' hands, but sometimes if the passing game's having a little bit of an off night, it's pretty cool to see that they have this to lean on.
Yeah, and that offensive line, I mean, and Andy Reid will be the first one to tell you, they're rough and tough, and honestly, he likes scripting these first 15 runs to get this O-line nice and jellied up and just good, ready to go. It's just hey, lubed up, we're good to go, let's roll, and then that way they can set up the pass by the run. There's so many different ways that he does the first 15, and I've seen it in the past where he's done that, and he's just let Mahomes get settled in with these quick little out routes, quick crossing routes, and you see down later in the game, he starts taking more shots downfield because the O-line is settled in. They understand the pass rush techniques from the Jets, and I thought I saw that, I know I saw that on Sunday night.
And let's start with that run game as we dig into the film here. The Isaiah Pacheco touchdown, obviously a huge moment in this game. What stood out to you about this?
Well, right here is awesome. I love this unbalance. It's 3rd and short. Jawan Taylor is over there at left tackle, and you got Blake Bell and Travis Kelce. So obviously right here, they're coming in motion right now, and all they're showing is jet sweep. They've done this quite often before, and they're going to end up is just running power. It's just like a tight end where Jawan Taylor is, but you get a little bit extra beef, a little bit extra power to clear that C gap, and you see big number 65 here. Like, to me, 65 made this entire play. He made it from a 10-yard gain to a touchdown. He's going to end up literally just diving and getting a pancake all four off the ground, and Pacheco just ends up with the speed. I mean, I really like the way Pacheco has been running. And it's just so cool to see the run game going, especially on 3rd and 1, because sometimes as offenses, you can overthink it. I think Andy Reid, especially from the time he's been in Kansas City, has been one of the best short yardage play callers in all of football.
Yeah, and it's not often that you call offensive linemen fun to watch. Trey Smith is really fun to watch. He has a block like this, or multiple blocks like this, every single game. He's an absolute animal. And Pacheco, I agree. I love the running style. He's just so aggressive when he gets that ball in his hands. He looks like he wants to hurt somebody and score a touchdown on every single play. I saw somebody tweeted he's like the kid at the sleepover that his parents don't let him have soda.
That's so funny. Oh my God. It's so
yeah,
and the coolest thing too about this is like obviously the scheme, the schematics, all that. They're not the first team to do tackle over, guard pull, stuff like that. But what was interesting to me, and I thought was the most funny thing, is like when Isaiah Pacheco scores, he just got this little shimmy, shake. Okay, NBC or Sunday Night Football did not show it. They cut away to Taylor Swift. I wanted to see Isaiah Pacheco. Maybe I was in the rarity of all the fans that were watching, just trying to get to see Taylor Swift. You showed her 17 other times. Show Isaiah Pacheco scoring on national TV and doing his thing. That's what I was pissed about.
It's true. I mean, I think Taylor Swift gets enough attention. We could let Isaiah Pacheco have his moment here after a phenomenal play. But let's keep it rolling here because, we did see some good moments from this passing game, especially early on too. Wanted to dig into one of them here, the Noah Gray touchdown. What jumped out at you here?
Yeah, it was awesome. Just the trips bunch formation. Look, they're in man-to-man coverage. They know it. You get Travis Kelce out on the corner. And what they're doing right here for the Jets, they're pointing the point guy. Okay, that means they're up on there and they're in and outing the far two guys on the right. And all they're going to run is a little escape route with Travis Kelce. Noah Gray's going to have a corner, and the point guy's going to have a little sit on there. Okay, so they have man and zone beaters. And when we run this play right here, you're going to see Travis Kelce draws a lot of attention. So when he comes inside on the escape route, he draws the attention of the guy covering Noah Gray right there. He's covering the tight end. And so when he goes back out, okay, he draws his man, and then he's just left completely wide open, untouched. And Patrick Mahomes in the pocket looked a little bit like, oh, I'm going to throw it to Kelce. I'm going to throw it to Kelce. I guarantee you all week in scout team, when they're running against scout team, it's been wide open to Travis Kelce. And I don't also, you're going to see this back view here. Why are you rushing 3 guys against Patrick Mahomes? To me, in my opinion, that's the absolute worst thing you can do because he is going to absolutely pick you apart, man zone or whatever it is. So great concept, great touchdown, great run after catch, all this stuff. Just a perfectly executed play, in my opinion.
And you see it, that little bit of a pump that he gives towards Kelce just gets everybody to bite. And you almost can't blame a defense for biting with what these two can do to you. And that's the Kelce factor. Even when he's not getting targeted, he's going to impact the defense in a number of ways. And you really don't see the Jets have these type of breakdowns very often.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the better defenses in all of football. We talked about it before. And so when you're a man-to-man, you can see number 3 there. He goes and says, hey, Travis Kelce's mine because they're in and outing. Okay? Well, one guy thought they were in and outing. One guy thought they were locking onto one another. And it just ends up in a disaster for the Jets, but a home run play for the Chiefs.
Yep, but it wasn't all home runs on the night, as we know. For Kansas City, we saw Mahomes make a few uncharacteristic mistakes. I want to dig into one of them here, one of his interceptions. What stood out to you here on this play, Chase?
Well, they got 3 tight ends, 1 receiver, and so in my opinion, the Jets are probably thinking, hey, look, we're going to load the box, and this is usually what they throw out of 13 personnel, and all it is just a heavy play action right here. You got a clear route by the receiver, and you got a corner route, and all you're going to see here once we roll this film is that Patrick Mahomes just makes a throw he shouldn't make. I mean, he tried to look away. He tried to scramble. He didn't know what he was going to do. And they're going to see this flat defender right here. Once this corner route goes, you're going to see this flat defender get a lot of depth. And the reason he gets a lot of depth is because there's no flat control. I know we have a shallow cross by Kelce right there, but Patrick Mahomes just looks at him. He sees the DB's shoulders turn back to him, okay, but just doesn't quite get enough on it. Like, that's a very risky throw, in my opinion. He made a couple of these throws this game. And honestly, like, stuff like this happens. When you get the genius and the offensive playmaking skill of Patrick Mahomes, who's the best in the world, let's make no mistake about it. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to make some throws that wow you. And there's going to be a few every year that are like this. You can see his back right foot comes up off of the ground. He's not able to get all the power in it, but probably just hopes he would have probably ran for 5-yard slid and just get on with the down.
And you see it. He tried to it was almost all arm there. Not typical from what we see from him, but how much of it, you're up 17-5 at this point. You know Zach Wilson's been struggling on the other side. How much does that factor into some of these decisions and that willingness to take a little bit more of a risk?
None. And that's what I love about Patrick Mahomes. I don't care what the score of the game is. If they're down 10, if they're up 30, he's going to continue to take risk because he thinks and he has an innate ability to understand, hey, this risk right here is better than this reward right here is better than the risk. And I think that's what makes him so special because he's willing to try throws. We saw it a couple of weeks ago. Christian Watson down the seam, like one of those throws I saw that was just like, oh, ho-hum, but it's like one of the best throws I've ever seen. You get this with Mahomes, and look at the pocket. Yeah, of course he could have ran, but he's always got his eyes downfield on making a big play, and sometimes plays like this are going to happen.
Yeah, and you have to take the bad with all the good because, for every one of these, there's 9 incredible throws that he makes, and you definitely don't 100%. Want to take that out of his game. But as we look forward here, it's an interesting matchup. I know the record isn't great from the Minnesota Vikings on the other side, but to me, we've seen them beat themselves an awful lot. Even last week, they start the game with a 99-yard pick six. The turnovers have really been the story for Minnesota, but we know the talent is there. I don't think this is a game the Chiefs can take lightly.
No, absolutely not. And I don't think they are. I think they're just such a team that is so used to getting everyone's best shot. Like, no matter what, you're going to get everyone's best shot because everyone wants to beat the Super Bowl champions, right? Like, that's just how it is. That's how it goes. And honestly, in the end, it makes the Kansas City Chiefs better because they're playing against the best players and the best teams all throughout the year. I think that the biggest thing for me offensively against the Vikings is you're going to have to deal with a bunch of cover zero. Brian Flores brings cover zero like 50% of the time. So your answers have got to be really, really good. You've got to have multiple different answers. And it's not this old school zero where you go up 7 yards and you have a man. It's this zoned out cover zero where if you just throw an out route, which is good for a zero, that corner is going to come off the outside receiver and smack them. And you saw it a bit. That's what he did in Miami. That's what he's doing here. And so I'm interested to see what Big Red has cooked up. And then defensively, like you got to get Kirk Cousins to turn the ball over. Like you got to get 2 or 3 turnovers, which he's been apt to do this past couple weeks. It's just not the best couple weeks for him right now. But I think you do those things, and I think you come away easily with the win.
Yeah, and to your point with the Vikings pressure pack, Harrison Smith had 3 sacks last week. He was incredible. And I think that's where this Vikings secondary, you can get after them a little bit. And I know it's in Flores' DNA too, but we saw last year when they tried to sit back and play coverage, teams just pick them apart. So They kind of have to be aggressive by nature. But on the other side, Justin Jefferson, no one has been able to slow him down yet this season. He's on pace to shatter Calvin's record right now. He's completely tearing things up. How do you can't completely shut him out. You can't completely shut him down, but how do you try to manage and limit his impact on this game if you're Kansas City?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get his yards no matter what. That's just is what it is. He's going to get his yards. He's the best receiver in football, in my opinion, and he makes plays, and Kirk trusts him. Okay, even if he has a 100-yard game, just don't turn that 100-yard game into a 170-yard game with 2 touchdowns. Now, what Spags is going to do, he's going to always have a safety over top. That patented cover 2, cover 4 shell defense that they play, along with bringing that saw dog pressure off the edge. It's a good mix, okay? Look for Justin Jefferson to be in the slot this game because I know when I was with when I was with the Chargers, that's how we would always beat KC with these slot pressures with just quick little throws to Keenan Allen. Okay, so if I'm Justin Jefferson and the Minnesota Vikings, I'm saying put me in the slot. Outside guys don't win against the Chiefs because they're clouded. The inside route and the inside slot receiver usually has some big games against the Chiefs just based on how they're playing. So it'll be interesting to see how they use him come Sunday.
Yeah, we've seen since Kevin O'Connell has taken over there, they've moved Jefferson into the slot way more. He's been really successful in there. And we've seen at times this year, rookie Jordan Addison is eating there as well. I wonder if this is a big game for him. You got to, because it's not all about Jefferson. You got to know where he is at all times as well.
Yeah, he's had a heck of a career, and I think so far, and I think just what helps is that you have Justin Jefferson, right? Like he draws all the attention. So those other 2 or 3 receivers for Minnesota, and including TJ Hawkinson. I mean, he's had a heck of a year so far too. So a lot of weapons offensively, but I think the defense will continue to play well, and hopefully they come up with a win.
And Chase, before I let you out of here, I did want to address one other thing because a lot was made of it from the Zach Wilson perspective. Rodney Harrison's interview with Chris Jones after the game, just trying to bait Chris into saying something bad about Zach Wilson. It was a bad look on Rodney. But I just want to talk about the Chris Jones aspect of it because I was really impressed with how he handled it. What did you make of that situation?
Well, yeah, listen, our job in media is not to overly come after a player. Like when I got into this media stuff a couple years ago and thought this is what I wanted to do, I was told some really good advice. And I was told, hey, you can criticize the play, don't criticize the player. So I thought Rodney Harrison, I didn't think it was the best look for him to be able to do that. There's no need for that. And I thought the way Chris Jones handled it just showed a lot about the team, showed a lot about who he is, showed a lot about just his maturation and his growth process too. Just like you don't want to be dogging on quarterbacks. So I thought he really handled it really well.
Yeah, I was really impressed. And there was really no hesitation either. He didn't take the bait in any form. And that was just, such a classy move on his part. And we talk about a lot about what a tremendous player he is, but that told me a lot about him as a person as well.
Yeah, totally agree.
Well, that's all we have for you today, guys, on the breakdown. We'll be right back here to break it all down with you next week. For Chase Daniel, I'm Matt Hamilton. Thanks for watching.
Later, guys.